welcome to this YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to consider how we can resolve word problems leading to quadratic equation. Word problems leading to quadratic equation. Word problems. So these are the questions that we'll consider. These are the questions. So these are the questions. So we are going to solve these questions now and to see how we can resolve them. So the first question there is if 3 times a certain number is subtracted from twice the square of the number, the result is 5. What are the possible values of the number? What are the possible values of the number? They say if 3 times a certain number, the first thing you do is ask yourself, what is that number? Now you can make an assumption. Let the number be x. Let the number be x. They say if 3 times a certain number is subtracted from twice the square of the number, the result is 5. The result means equal to 5. What are the possible values of the number? What are the possible values of the number? You discover now that question 1, has led to a quadratic equation. The next thing we do is to solve the quadratic equation. So this becomes, if I rearrange this quadratic, rearranging terms, why am I rearranging terms? I want to rearrange these terms so that will conform to the general form of a quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So rearranging these terms now, we'll have 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. So the next thing we need to do is to resolve this quadratically. Now, if we apply factorization method, let's take this as a rough. If we multiply, and for you to do that, you have to multiply AC. AC here will give us minus 10. We need to look for two factors such that when we multiply them, it gives us minus 10. Two factors of AC, so that when we multiply them, it gives us minus 10, and when we combine them, it gives us the middle 10 in B. So the two factors, if we take 10 for instance, the two factors are minus 5 and plus 2. Plus 2 and minus 5. So if we multiply plus 2 and minus 5, if we multiply them, we'll get minus 10. And if we combine them, we'll get minus 3. That is the terms in B. So when we have fulfilled these two conditions, the next thing we need to do is to replace the term in B in terms of x with these factors. So this becomes 2x squared plus 2x minus 5x minus 5 equals 0. So from here, we group terms in twos. The next step is to group terms in twos. Group terms in twos. So this becomes 2x squared plus 2x like this minus 5x minus 5 equals 0. The next step is to factorize the terms within the bracket. So if we factorize 2x here, we'll have x plus 1. And if we factorize 5 here, we'll have x plus 1. Now, the sign of the second bracket must conform to the sign of the first bracket. If you do the factorization, we might be having here minus, but the sign of the second bracket must always conform to the sign of the first bracket. For this, so that when you expand this, you will get back the original expression. So very important that the sign within the second bracket must conform with the sign of the first bracket. Very, very important. So at the end of the day, we are going to factorize the common factor here. And the common factor here is x plus 1. So we can bring it out, and this is what we have. So it is either x plus 1 equals 0, or 2x minus 5 equals 0, x equals minus 1, or x equals 5 over 2. These are the possible answers. From the question, they say, what are the possible values of the number? The possible values of the number are x equals minus 1 or x equals 5 over 2. So this is how to resolve the problem. First of all, you need to interpret the problem. Then when you interpret the problem correctly, then it will result to a quadratic equation. Then you solve normally and get the values. The second question here is the product of the two consecutive positive odd numbers is 195. The product of the two consecutive odd numbers is 195. By constructing the quadratic equation, find the two possible numbers. Find the two possible numbers. Here, the the product of two consecutive odd numbers. Now you ask yourself, what are the two consecutive odd numbers? The solution to that, question 2, the solution, what are the two consecutive odd numbers? The two consecutive odd numbers. What are the two consecutive odd numbers? An odd number differs from the preceding 10 by 2. So if you say let the odd, the two consecutive odd numbers be, let's say, n, the second one will be n plus 2. Because each odd number differs from the succeeding 10 by adding 2 to the preceding 10. So that is why we have 2 here. That's why we have 2 here. So the next thing is that the product of two consecutive positive odd numbers is 195. Is 195. By constructing the quadratic equation, find the two numbers. The product. So for if you have the product, you have n into n plus 2. The answer is, it will result to 195. We try to resolve this. This result, if you break the bracket, and if you expand the bracket on the left hand side, we have n squared plus 2n equals 195. If we rearrange these terms so that it will conform by rearranging terms, we will have n squared plus 2n minus 195 equals 0. The next thing we are going to do here is to find the factors. The factors of, if we take AC now to be 1 times 195, we have 195. We look for the factors of AC such that, and we can do that by just taking 195 and trying to look for the factors of 195. In this particular problem, we can use 3. Let's use 3 as a factor to divide. To divide this, we'll have 60, 65. If we use 5 now to divide, we'll have 13. Now, we can compare 3 and 65. Those two factors, when you combine them, it will not give us tens in the middle term, tens in B. So, what do we do? We are going to combine this and take this along. So if we multiply this and this, we'll have 15. 15 and 13. If we combine them, we can get in a certain way by assigning negative sign here and here positive to give us positive number, which is positive 2. And if we multiply them, it gives us minus 195. Therefore, the two factors are plus 15n minus 13n, which we automatically replace the middle term, the term in B, that minus 195 equals 0. This is a rough. This is just a rough. The next is to group terms in twos. Group terms in twos. And we'll have n squared plus 15n minus 13n minus 195 equals 0. The next step here is to factorize the terms in brackets. So to factorize here, we'll have n into n plus 15. And here the factor will be 13 into n. You see minus here, but the sign, as I said earlier, the sign of the second bracket must conform with the sign of the first bracket. So this is plus. I will be left with 15 here plus 0. So the factors here, n plus 15 into n minus 13 plus 0. So it is either n plus 15 equals 0 or n minus 13 equals 0. Therefore, n equals to minus 15 or n equals 13. So these are the two numbers that when you multiply them, their product, the product of two consecutive positive odd numbers. Okay, these are the values of n. Now, for you to get the two consecutive odd numbers, you need to substitute into these. If we make substitution, we'll have now the question is, by constructing the product of two consecutive positive odd numbers, two consecutive positive. The emphasis there is on positive. So the negative aspect will not be taken. We'll concentrate on the positive. And the positive here is n. Therefore, the first number goes to n, and the second number, n plus 2, will go to 13 plus 2, which is 15. Therefore, the two consecutive odd numbers are 13 and 15. 13 and 15. So if you look at them, they are positive, they are consecutive, and they are also odd. So that is how to solve the second question. Now, for the third question, which is third question here, which is find the two consecutive numbers whose product is 156. Find the two consecutive numbers. Now here they didn't specify whether it is odd or even. They just said find the two consecutive numbers whose product is 156. In this case, where there's no specification, the consecutive numbers is assumed to be the, to assume to have a difference of one between the preceding number and the succeeding number. Very, very important. So when you see a question like that and it did not specify whether it is odd or even, or they didn't, and it's consecutive, just like is the difference, positive difference, or the difference is supposed to be one. Therefore, let the consecutive numbers be x. So if the first one is x and x plus 1, therefore, they said find the two consecutive numbers whose product. So if you multiply them, their product now, x plus 1 equals 156. Their product is 156. So you try to break the bracket. This becomes x squared plus x equals 156 by rearranging terms. We have x squared plus x minus 156 equals 0. Now, in solving this, let's create a rough here. And our AC, which is 1 times and minus 156. When we multiply them, we have minus 156. Let's try to look for two factors of say 156 using this continuous division. 2 dividing this will have 78, 78. We can still use 2 and 78 cannot give us the 10th in the middle term. So let's use 2 again. I have 39. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 and 39 cannot help us to get the middle term here in B, which is 1. So we can use 3 now. 3, 1, and 3. 2 times 2, 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 and 13. If we combine them, let's say plus 12 and minus 13, we'll get the middle term, the coefficient of x, which is 1. And if we multiply them, we get minus 156. Therefore, it's a better deal. So x squared plus 13x minus 12x minus 156 equals 0. The next thing we are going to do is to group terms in twos. Group terms in twos. So this becomes x squared plus 13x minus 12x minus 156 equals 0. So we try to factorize the terms within the bracket, and we'll have x into x plus 13 minus, factorize this, have 12 into x. Now the sign of the second bracket must always conform with the sign of the first bracket. This becomes plus 10 equals 0. So by taking the factors, x plus 13, we'll be left with x minus 12 equals 0. So it is either x plus 13 equals 0 or x minus 12 equals 0. This implies that x equals to minus 13 or x equals 12. Now the question is, find the two consecutive numbers whose product is 156. Two consecutive numbers whose product is 156. So the 156 here is a positive number. We can take the negative number and also take the positive number. Either way. So this is how we do it. For x equals minus 13, we have x equal to minus 13 and x plus 1 equal to x plus 1 equals minus 13 plus 1, which is equals minus 12. Therefore, this does not conform to, so this, okay, now this means we can easily say, for x equals this, for x equals minus 13, the consecutive numbers are minus 13, minus 12. Their product will give us 156. Also, and say for x equals 12, x plus 1 equals 12 plus 1, which is 13. Therefore, the two consecutive numbers are 12 and 13. So these two numbers, when you multiply them, it gives you 156. So it depends on the 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 the, the numbers we are considering. Whether they didn't specify here whether it is positive whole numbers or negative whole numbers. So either way will lead us to our answer depending on the value of x we are using to substitute. So this is the first and this is the second. Thank you.